Morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. Welcome to Thursday's Thought for the Day. Well, I've spoken about this before. Several years ago, I began to research my family tree, and I found the origins of my surname, Braithwaite. And it's essentially a name that's found mostly in the north of England, and that's where my family originate from, in Yorkshire. And the north of England was an area that once had many Viking settlements, and place names and family names reflect that. There are two villages in the north called Braithwaite, one in East Yorkshire and one in Cumbria. And I found that my name has Viking origins and was originally called Braithwaite, which actually means broad clearing in the woods. And my Viking origins were further confirmed when I had my DNA tested and found that I had a good percentage of Scandinavian antecedents. So I'm part Viking, but I don't wear the dress or the helmets, and remind you that not all Vikings are fierce. They've got a particularly bad press over the years that they don't necessarily deserve. But there are two places, and there is a link, there are two places that I often long for: that clearing in the woods, or to be by the sea. And trying to find such a space in the busyness and the maze that is daily living, a small place where a small clearing where peace can be found, where I can listen to God, where God can plant seeds, and where prayer seems a natural response. And making that clearing is always difficult. It's never truly finished because nature or life always creeps in and begins to take over that space. But finding a clearing in the woods or that place by the sea is essential if we are to learn the art of contemplative prayer. Now, I know intellectually and in my heart that God is always near, but I often drift away, caught up in my preoccupied self, always thinking of the next thing that I've got to do, or involved with the needs of others, and that restful and focused prayerfulness is often hard to find. And letting go is also something that I find hard most of the time. And so that question arises: do I really trust God? Which brings with it a whole realm of difficulties. Of course, I want to trust God, and there have been times when I have knowingly been utterly reliant upon Him, and know beyond doubt that He's brought me through it. But day to day, we forget, and I realise that sometimes I'm not sure whether I do trust God, but the intention is there. And it creeps up on me, that inability to let go and let God. And I think I'm doing okay, and I begin to realise that there's a tiredness and a certain agitation start to creep in. And although the tiredness manifests itself physically, I know that it's really a spiritual tiredness that needs refreshment. And I spoke about this last week when I spoke about the need for refreshment from the living water. Because these first few months of the year have been difficult. 6 friends have died, and I've officiated at many funerals. And I don't think that I've given myself the space and the time to properly consider their impact or to bring these things to prayer. And I talk about these things not because I want you to feel sorry for me or to gain your sympathy. I talk about these things because I think they need to be talked about. And it's something that I'm sure many of you listening will recognise, that those times when you feel dry and to a certain extent alone in your feelings. And we might not be alone, but we might feel alone, which is different, and it's as real. And I know that this is an issue for many clergy, and I did a small study of depression and burnout in clergy, and it's found that often people in ministry find it difficult to express, that they have a tendency to feel that they have to be all things to all people with little space for themselves. And I include clergy wives and clergy husbands in that, as well as the family. And we all need, all of us need to be aware of our own vulnerability and our own needs. And I'm not saying we put our own needs always before other people. That's not what I'm saying. But if we are aware of our vulnerability and our own needs, we will be able to meet other people's vulnerability and needs. And we need to be able to come in the honesty of our vulnerability to God. And for me, the answer is that quiet space, that clearing, that seascape where we can feel God's presence and drink it in without feeling the need to do or respond to those gnawing thoughts, but just to be without feeling that we're wasting time. And it takes practice and time to acquire this as a state of mind. It may be different places for you, but we all need to find that space that is me and God space, to be still, to listen, to hear, and to be refreshed. Amen. Well, I'll speak to you next Monday, and in the meantime, look after yourselves. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.